There's this extremely common misconception that the harder you work, the more successful you're going to be. So, we maximize our efforts. We push ourselves as hard as we can in our workouts. We try and maximize our discipline and force the consistency day after day after day. And ultimately we go hard. We go very hard because we expect our results to match that. And most times, if you do not work hard correctly, if you do not put the right effort in the right places, your results won't match that. It doesn't matter how hard you go. It doesn't matter how much work you put in. It doesn't matter how much you believe that you're doing more than the man next to you. You're not going to go further than him. You're not even going to maximize your own potential, because hard work alone, just the grind, just pushing yourself, it's not enough. Because hard work is this incredible illusion that does a bunch of confusing things to your brain. It allows you to believe that you're doing a lot more than you actually are. It makes you believe that in a certain block amount of time, you're doing much more than everybody else. So it would seem as though most people around you would be walking and you're sprinting. That's how you would feel. Because of the pain that you're putting in, because of the effort that you're exerting per hour, per day, per week. Because you would feel like you're doing more, it would seem as though the results are that if I'm running faster, I go further. But if the person next to you is riding a bike and you're running as fast as you can, they're exerting less effort, but they're going to go further and faster. Now, to that person on the bike, if they're riding and pedaling as fast as they can, maximum hard working as hard as possible, I'm talking about pedal to the metal, like they're going as fast as possible, and the person next to them is in a car, doesn't matter how much effort they put in, just him putting his foot on that pedal, he's gonna speed past them. And to that person in the car, if they're putting their pedal to the metal, they're using all their skills to steer as skillfully as possible, doesn't matter if the person next to them is in a plane, person's going to go much further. And so on until we get to the end of our technological evolution. The point still stands. It doesn't matter if you're exerting much more energy than somebody else, or you're maximizing the energy that you have in your body. If you're not progressing in a smart way, the person next to you is going to fly right by. You're not even going to maximize your own potential. You're not even going to go as far as possible, because if you're just sprinting constantly, and you're not even thinking about ways that you can get on a bike, that you can find a motorbike, that you can even pedal anything or upgrade to a car one day, you're never going to move your fastest or get your furthest. You're never going to do it. You're simply going to keep running aimlessly, thinking, why am I working so hard? Why am I putting in all this effort and it's getting me nowhere? Because you must understand that the brain needs rest. It needs to be at its sharpest. You need to also think of ideas on how you can move faster, because you must not fall victim to the illusion of pain and learn how your brain works. The illusion of pain will have you believing that yes, I'm going to get closer. And even if that is 0.1%, because you will always see some gains when you're working hard. Always will. But you must get out of the mindset of the rat and get into the mindset of the scientist. You see, the rat is going to run on that hamster wheel over and over and over again, thinking, okay, if I do enough rotations, I get food. If I do enough rotations, I get food. But the person who's creating the food, the person who's controlling the rat, they have a completely different mindset. Hard work is a lie. Yes, there's a time and a place for it. Yes, it works when you're trying to build foundational skills and you're trying to get the number of hours required to be good at something. Absolutely, you need to put in a good volume of time, for sure, and that takes hard work. But after a certain amount of time, it's all about working smart and the things that your mind is capable of. Because, and I always use basketball as an example, or any high level sport, everybody's good at the top levels. Everybody works hard. Everybody's put in their time. Everybody's really great at being consistent, even when they don't feel like it. So you trying to get an extra hour over somebody, sure, that's going to help. But you know what separates people at the top levels? The real difference maker is what they're able to do in a certain amount of time, how efficient they can be. Can you perform under the brightest lights? Can you do what you train to do when it matters most? We can all dribble, we can all shoot. In football, we can all run, dribble, pass, we can all do these things. But can you do it when it matters most? Can you be efficient? Can you maximize the time you're given in a 90-minute game? Or in a 60-minute box? Can you maximize the time that you've been given? And that all comes from working smart and the efficiency of your brain. So when you have a lack of sleep, when you are tired, when you've been pushing yourself too hard, when you haven't been thinking of the ramifications or consequences, your brainwaves, your frequencies are drastically reduced and your mind is not operating at its highest capacity. Sleep is as important as food and water, and we never treat it that way. It literally is as important as the food we eat and the water we drink. And we're always trying to improve our diet. We always want to drink more water, but we never want to improve our sleep. Do you put your phone away 2 hours before you rest? Do you stop drinking any type of caffeine 10 hours before you rest? Do you maximize the brain that you have? Because if not, if you decide, okay, tomorrow I'm going to wake up early anyway, I'm going to hit the grind, I'm still going to go gym, I'm still going to work on my business, I'm still going to go to work and make some money, you're not going to see any progression. You're just running that hamster wheel. You're just running and running and running. Yes, you're improving. Yes, that slight bit of minimal gains will keep you on that hamster wheel and keep you feeling like, yes, this might get me there one day, but it won't. Because you're competing against a man who's had the requisite amount of rest. His thinking and his focus are operating at a level that you can't even comprehend, that you are not matching. So per hour, he's going to get more done. His brain is going to be sharper. He's going to come up with better ideas and perform when the lights are the brightest. Hence, he is more efficient, which makes him more valuable. You both might be just as good as each other, just as naturally talented, equally work as hard. But ultimately, fellas, he's going to get the edge on you because his mind is rested and he understands the importance of rest, relaxation, and preparation. It's preparation. It's planning. It's understanding, okay, I can't just aimlessly work hard. I have to come up on ideas on how I can speed up my processes. And this is the step that I think a lot of men miss, and this is what I'm really trying to work on improving. If you're waking up early the next morning or you're up early every day, some days you have to skip some of the work. Why? Because if you need to sleep, if you need to catch up and have your brain operating at its highest level, not only do you need to sleep, but you need to do the correct practices to ensure that you recover properly. Because I promise you, fellas, you will benefit 10 times more from having a sharp, dynamic, wide awake mind than you will from having that tired, lethargic, that gritty grind set of a mind that just pushes you through the hard times. That one there, there's a time and a place for it. We need that discipline. We need to have those moments where we can push through the pain regardless. I'm not saying we don't. But for the most part, fellas, we need to have a great structure for our success. We need to have phenomenal plans for our ideas. We need to be able to implement our great strategies on a higher level. We need to change the game from checkers to chess. We have to elevate. We have to be operating at our highest, most intelligent being. Your results will 10x. There is no replacement. The sleep, you improve your accuracy by 80%, you improve your mindset and your brain functioning by 50%. And at the top levels, everything is just ideas. You gotta remember, the poor consume and the great produce. The great ones around us, the world that we live in, the businesses, the whole social economic structure is all based on ideas of the most creative people. These people are trendsetters, trailblazers. How can I maximize that? How can I make that more efficient? It looks like the intricacies, the nuances. For example, if you just put up 1,000 shots a day, but your form is atrocious, someone who puts up 200 in a day, but they maximize their form, so the ball's always going straight. Yes, you're working harder than them, but because they're working smart, they're achieving the same amount. They're achieving the same amount. If you're fatigued and you're on a workout and you're tired, so you're only lifting to 8 reps because your muscles are fatigued, versus the man who's fresh and he's able to push himself to his limit, he's breaking down more muscle and he's going to get stronger than you. In the same hour of input, we can get a whole different amount of output if we focus on the intelligence, the creativity, and the structure of that time. I really need you to understand this. So it's not always about working hard. It's about what you can do to maximize your efficiency in a certain amount of time. You see, that's the next step for you. That's the next step for me. That's the next step for all of us. It's the architects behind the structure. The workers just go there and build it. But the architects, the mathematicians, the creative people that understand, okay, where can we take this? What do we want it to look like? How do we want our vision to be executed? And then we can execute it with hard work later. But it's that idea, it's that visionary, it's that creative that is unstoppable. So utilize it. And that comes from rest. That comes from recovery. That comes from you taking time to really get away from the grind sometimes. It is not always about the volume of work. It's about the intelligence, the intellect of the work, the value of the work. In that 10 minutes, in that hour, who can produce the highest quality? And that only comes from a mind that is well rested and very creative and intelligent. And again, that comes from rest. So don't always focus on working as hard. Focus on working hard and working smart. But ultimately, if you have to pick between the two, it's better to work smart than work hard. I promise you that. Alright, my boy.